Lawmakers frown at slow per work on Customs Training College in Ogun State. House of Representatives probes alleged misuse of agri funds amid rising food insecurity. And one day, all votes, bill for simultaneous elections scales second reading. The House may be on break, but key issues from recent oversight visits and plenary sessions are still making the rounds, from stalled projects in Ogun to questions over agricultural funding and the push for simultaneous elections. This is You and Your Reps on NTA. I am Victor, as welcome. The House of Representatives Committee on Customs and Excise has expressed dissatisfaction with the slow pace of work and quality of ongoing construction of the Nigeria Customs Service Training College in Ogun State. Now, this follows an inspection of the project by the committee in continuation of oversight visits to customs formations and facilities.
Bring this one here. Wait, you can see.
This is not some martial arts practice, but lawmakers checking the quality of blocks used for ongoing construction of the Nigeria Customs Service Training College in Ikperu Ileshan Remo, Ogun State. The multipurpose project, which will eventually serve as a capacity building hub for customs personnel, has a timeline of 36 months. Members of the House Committee on Customs and Excise, while inspecting the project, expressed reservations with the pace of work and use of substandard building materials.
As I said, we have 36 months. We'll give ourselves up to 45%.
I doubt.
45.
This is a priority project that Comptroller General of Customs asked me and my committee members to check. But the controller does not even know it's in his command. It's unfortunate we have that kind of person as a controller of a command. Something needs to be done. We need a competent person to hold this command.
The committee was at Ogun 1 and 2 customs commands in Idiroko and Abeokuta to look into the books of both commands and assess their operational capabilities against illicit trade.
Smuggling and complicity by criminal elements of the host communities and violent resistant customs enforcement are other areas of challenge we face.
Almost 4-5 years now, petroleum products cannot get here, 20 kilometers to the border. We know how much we buy it. Therefore, when people want to do legitimate businesses, I think this should be recognized.
Next ports of call were the Apapa and Tinkan Island Customs Commands, where it was revealed that unregistered pharmaceutical products topped the list of seizures. Shortage of scanning machines and poor road network were listed as major causes of port congestion and delays in cargo clearance.
The lack of adequate scanning machines hampers the efficiency of cargo inspection.
Where are the scanners? So these are part of our job, honorable colleagues.
Please, if there can be a legislation that all the terminals in the waterfront, they should be able to retain some percentage of the content of the vessel. That
Local content.
Yeah, local content.
Just before the House went on break, Kogi Rep David Idris Zacharias moved a motion highlighting the growing insecurity challenge in his constituency.
The House notes about the rising cases of kidnapping and violent crimes in Ibaji, Ida, Igalamela of Federal Constituency, Kogi State, which has heightened fear, disrupted economic activities, and led to the loss of lives and property. And in particular, the recent report of kidnapping and attacks on commuters along major highway, and invasions of rural community by armed criminals. Consign that the criminals have continued to operate with impunity, exploiting security lapses and inadequate manpower and difficult terrain to perform their heinous acts. Mr. Speaker, again worried that on Sunday, March 16, 2025, 18 passengers in ABC transport bus traveling from the southeast to Abuja, were kidnapped by gunmen around Aloma in local government area of Kogi State. Trouble that period to December 13, 2024 adoptions, cycles riders returning from the farm and other travelers returning from the Enugu market had also kidnapped along the Usuka-Ida route, and their whereabouts remain unknown till date. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, cognizant of the primary purpose of government as utter, which is the security and welfare of its citizens, and agenda 2, improving national security of the legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives, and the express needs to ensure the protections and the preservations of lives. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, resolve to urge the Inspector General of Police to establish a mobile police force squadrons base at Ajogidibeje Junction in local government area of Kogi State, which is central and strategically located to tackle kidnapping and other forms of criminality in Ida federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, ensure the immediate establishment of a police station at Ajewu in local government area of Kogi State, which is a transit settlement leading to Ida, Ibaji, Odolu, including Otukpa and Osuka to Enugu. Urge the Chief of Armed Staff to establish military checking point and post at flash point along Itobe, Oshadamu, Ofejiji, Ejule, Aloma, to Otukpa branch and other points around the constituency. Mandate the House Committee on Police Affairs, Army, and Legislative Compliance to liaise with the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Armed Staff to ensure that the above police and military observations point, bases, posts, and formations are established and effectively manned, and to report back to the House within 4 weeks. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move.
There is a consensus that the reality today in Nigeria is that in spite of huge sums of money budgeted and disbursed over the years for agricultural programs, Africa's largest economy continues to grapple with food importation, fluctuation in food prices, and malnutrition. Now, this was brought to the fore at an investigative hearing on an alleged misuse of government interventions and agricultural funding by departments, agencies, schemes, and programs of the federal government by the House of Representatives Committee on Nutrition and Food Security.
The Green Chamber is interested in knowing how the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), through the Anchor Borrowers Program, disbursed about 1.12 trillion naira to 4.67 million farmers involved in either maize, rice, or wheat farming through 563 anchors. The committee also beams its searchlight on the incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending (NESO), which disbursed more than 215 billion naira.
One of the key oversight mandates of the committee is to ensure proper implementation of intervention programs by relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of government related to food security and nutrition, investigations, monitoring of resource allocation, advancement of new laws, and strengthening of existing ones, among others, on matters relating to nutrition and food security, are comprehensively contained in the committee's jurisdiction.
A total of 40.1 billion was disbursed under ABP, and as at February end 2025, 27.6 billion has been repaid, leaving a principal outstanding balance of 12.4 billion as detailed in this table I'm reading.
Because this kind of agencies who are supposed to monitor it, you should have good monitoring system. You should have extension workers. Before you accept the loan, where is their site? How far have you gone?
We engaged the services of the EFCC and also the services of the DSS. And through these relationships and collaborations, we have been able to recover 3,987,100,234 naira. Why we have actually had to follow this path is that some of the anchors, based on our monitoring intervention, we have reasons to believe that they did not effectively execute or abide by the terms and the guidelines of the disbursement.
We don't have a submission. We wrote a response to the office that we were not part of any of this. And
so you shouldn't be here, that's what you're saying?
I believe so, sir.
Members therefore requested for details covering the period under review 2017 to 2024, including banks and donor partners involved in the transactions.
Also on the floor before the break, a motion on flooding in Fagge Federal Constituency of Kano State, sponsored by Shehu Mohammed Bello, was approved.
The House notes that there is an impending disaster of flood and erosion in Kano, as it is predicted that heavy rainfall might lead to flood and erosion within the period of prediction. A motion, Mr. Speaker, was brought before this House on the 25th of July 2023 and again on the 27th of June 2024 by my humble self, stating the ordeals suffered by my constituents, and resolutions were made by the House, but unfortunately action is yet to be taken to that effect. Aware that, Mr. Speaker, Kwarin Gogau, Mata Gabas, Kwachiri, Sabon Birni, Alpha Tudun Bojuwa, Alasawa, Jaba, and Kwakwachi, all in Fagge local government area of Kano State, are facing severe and destructive environmental degradation and poverty as a result of erosion and floods occasioned in the said communities. Worried that as a result of this erosion, the flood, industrial development have been shattered and sources of income have been wrecked, which in effect has led to low food production. This environmental degradation needs to be addressed and their effects need to be reduced on the populace. Resolve, Mr. Speaker, to further urge and re-urge the Federal Ministry of Environment, the Ecological Fund Office, to, as a matter of urgency, intervene by assessing the erosion problems with a view to ensuring the execution of erosion control and remediation projects at all the affected communities. Number two, Mr. Speaker, to also urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to supply relief materials to the affected areas. Further urge the Federal Ministry of Works to rehabilitate and reconstruct the affected roads in the affected community. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
We often hear the term reading in different settings, but in the legislature, it means something quite specific. Guiding us through what it really means is the chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive.
The term reading refers to bringing a bill to the attention of members of parliament for them to know that there is the process of this bill becoming law. When you initiate it initially, it's called the first reading. That is when it has gone through scrutiny, gazetting, and then put in the journal and then put on the order paper by the Rules and Business Committee and given a number, if it's a Senate bill, SB, if it's a House bill, HB, given a number and placed there for the first time. At that first reading, the short title is read during plenary by the clerk of the House. And members are encouraged to go and read up what has been published from first reading, such that at the second time it will be read, it's now open for debate, where members are now able to discuss it, to talk about the merits and the demerits, the pros and cons, if you will. So the second reading is that time of debate. And in the second reading, when we list, it's at the instance of the member, the sponsor, who says he's now ready to go ahead with what was listed in the first reading. Now, after that second reading, after the debate and it passes, it scales through, the presiding officer now invites the clerk to read the long title to the hearing of members so that nobody's in doubt, you know. So that's like the second reading as the clerk now reads it. So after that, you go for public hearing, committee work, and then you report back to the committee of the whole, clause by clause consideration. Then the third reading is done of the long title, just to be sure that everybody agrees with that. And when it passes, it's then passed into law. So you can see the differences between first reading, second reading, and third reading.
Imagine casting all your votes, presidential to local, on the same day. Well, that's the vision behind a new bill shaking things up at the House of Representatives. Now, this week on You and Your Reps, we take it up with the man behind the bill, Representative Ikagwonu Ugochinyere. He represents Idato North and South Federal Constituency of Imo State, and we asked him to unpack the big idea and the bigger implications.
And this is a bill seeking for amendment of the Constitution to provide that the election to the office of President, the office of Governor, the office of Senate, Senator, House of Representative, State Assembly, and local government elections should all be conducted in one day. And whether you like it or not, this is very historic in our nation's democratic history. Coming from a background of worse, voter apathy, crisis, and election manipulation, holding all elections in one day in Nigeria will achieve major things like, one, it will reduce costs. So instead of going 2-3 Saturdays to do this election, paying the same INEC staffs and ad hoc staffs and so on and so forth, we can put all these elections in one basket in one day. Then voter apathy. Normally, when somebody that is supporting a presidential candidate feels the presidential candidate has lost, he may not turn out to vote for state assembly. But now we're going to have supporters of presidential candidates, supporters of senatorial candidates, rep candidate, governorship candidate, state assembly candidate, local government. You can imagine how the polling unit is going to be very busy. And then for election security, now you're going to have almost about 12 agents or 3 agents for one party times the number of parties participating. So the number of agents in that polling unit has already formed the security ring around the electoral process. And that will ensure that those who normally come to frighten voters and run away, you're going to see not less than 500, 1,000 people in one polling unit. So in terms of reducing costs, all election holding in one day in Nigeria is coming at the right time. In terms of security, it's coming at the right time that people try to snatch ballot and don't want election to be uploaded and so on and so forth. Then in terms of saving hours, so instead of locking down the country for 2-3 Saturdays, we can have all this election in one day. And again, in terms of credibility of the process, remember that if we have all election in one day, the accreditation that is used for the state assembly or local government or House of Rep is the same accreditation for the presidential election. So we'll not have a situation whereby after a House of Rep or senatorial candidates have been declared with 40,000 accreditation, the presidential election result is showing 1 million. Because already people have collected their result at that lower level before we even start getting to the state level where we're going to compile the governorship and the presidential. So this attitude of maybe somebody is losing a governorship election and he calls people and says, okay, we have lost 2 local government. Can you hold down the result of Southern Zone? And then we need like 30,000 votes. Then they will intimidate everybody and raise it to 30,000 votes. You cannot do that again because that 30,000 you are adding is not in the result sheet that is already with the House of Assembly or local government chairman who has already emerged. So we're going to put a cap on accreditation and to make the process a little bit transparent. So to me, it will save Nigeria cost. It will bring more unity and cohesion. It will bring active participation of every Nigerian. It will reduce electoral violence and thuggery, and it will make the process a bit credible. It's in the same quest for credible and democratic, transparent process. We all have seen how state independent electoral commission across all parts of the country have been conducting local government elections. Most of them have not met the standard of a credible electoral process, especially participation. So because of that, in 1999-98, when Federal INEC, Independent National Election, conducted local government election, you saw how transparent it was. Candidates from UNCP, different political parties won that election. Same in 99. So immediately the governors started asserting their constitutional powers of conducting that election. We saw a situation whereby there was even no primary. The governor just came and read out the list of candidates. Then there was even no voting. There was even no election. And the governor came and said, this person are the people who won. So it will have descended to a level whereby there's even no election at all. Whereby there's even no primary. There's even no voting. There's even no ballot. In that state, they didn't even print ballot paper. Nobody came out to vote. But they have local government. I feel that Nigerians are yearning for a working local government. All over the world, the catalyst for national development is activities at the local government. That is what will grow agriculture. That is what will grow security. That is what will grow empowerment and so on and so forth. A country without a working local government is going to have insecurity, is going to have poverty, is going to have crisis, and that's what's happening in Nigeria because you have removed that layer of government. And then the states, in most of the states, they are mismanaging their fund. And that part of the reason is that how these local governments emerge, most of them don't emerge through a transparent democratic process. So they will owe allegiance to the person who appointed them. So, but if we now allow INEC to conduct local government elections simultaneously with all other elections in different parts of the country. You can see a son of a school teacher, if his villagers love him, can emerge as a councillor, can emerge as a local government chairman, and they'll be accountable to the people. And you need this aspect to complement what the president has done by releasing or insisting that allocation of local government should go directly to the local government. That aim will be defeated if the process of electing those who administer it is at the mercy of the governor. That means even when you send the allocation directly, the chairman will surrender it to the governor willingly because the governor appointed them. So if allocation is coming direct to local government, then you need the chairman who will emerge through a transparent process so that they can judiciously use that money for the good of their people. So all these bills are coming at a time that we have tried all these other methods and have seen clearly that they have all failed. And then for us to save this democracy from failing completely, then we need to make that electoral process open and transparent. That is why I'm so happy that the House of Representatives has passed second reading for the bill for INEC to conduct the local government election.
Well, break or not, the work of democracy is never done, and neither is your role in it. I am Victor Azul, thanking you for being part of You and Reps. I'll see you next time.